Welcome to the Infinite and Beyond, the MIT Alumni Show. I'm your trusted host, Rob Kalwarowsky, MIT Class of 2010, world-renowned executive coach, author, and speaker. Each week, we are sharing the stories with our friends and classmates, fellow MIT alumni who've taken action to shape the world. We'll share what we've learned, top strategies, and bring our community together to help everyone achieve our goals. No, this show is not officially affiliated with MIT, so any views expressed on this show are of the host and guest only. This show is designed to build a community that trusts, connects, and shares with each other so we can all take action towards a better world. Let's get rolling. Welcome to the Infinite and Beyond MIT Alumni Show, and it's amazing. Of course, I'm dressed in my suit as well.
Looks good on you.
We have our special guest with us today on the organizing committee, and actually the person who gave the idea for this show, and I loved it the moment I heard it. And so we're here. Kamo Jurn's with us. Kamo, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rob. Doing real well. Thank you for having me. What a great journey we've been on together, not knowing each other that well in college, but just synergies and the talk of the reunion. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, first, before we get into all nuts and bolts, the idea of the show, how did you get there?
It started naturally that when I joined Raymond James, I've been here now for about 7-8 months. I've been in private wealth management for over a decade. The first thing you kind of do is make a LinkedIn. I didn't have one. And as I was doing it, seeing all the titles from everyone from MIT, it wasn't just our class. I was like, holy shit. A lot of people are doing cool stuff. So I originally was like, maybe I should do a podcast. But then I realized I don't know how to do a podcast. I'm not this guy. And serendipitously we met. I'm like, you are the professional to take this the way it needs to be taken. And I'll sit back, relax, and listen in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a brilliant idea. Also, for folks out there, like I was transitioning out of my previous company. And so we were parking the leadership podcast. And so I was literally earlier that day going, I want to keep doing podcasts, but I don't know what my new show is going to be. And so Kamo brilliantly came up with the idea and we jumped on it right away. So Kamo mentioned it. Now, he's the practice business manager of the Global Wealth Solutions Group at Raymond James, based in Los Angeles. Kamo, before we get into your story from MIT, can you tell folks a little bit about what you do at Raymond James?
Absolutely. So at Raymond James, I am part of one of the largest teams out here. There's 5 of us advisors, about 20 staff or so, depending on the day. And what we really are is that we are that centralized, I call it almost primary care physician, but for your wealth. And so whether you have a question about what's going on in the stock market, the bond market, whether you have questions about how do I grow my company, hey, my mom is having an issue, what can we do about health insurance and long-term care? All of those questions come to me and my team, and we then find the right specialists, just like a PCP does. And we build a team around you. We work with your CPA, we work with your lawyer, and we're here just to serve you as our client. And so it's been a privilege to be on this team. My managing director, Lisa DeTana, is Barron's 100 Forbes Hall of Fame. And so, learning from Lisa and having that, it's interesting, Rob. I didn't realize how much I appreciate having a female boss. Seriously, my mother and I have a beautiful relationship. Yeah. It's a real thing. It's the nuanced things that I receive in terms of, encouragement, kindness, and words. I used to not be a words of affirmation guy. I totally am now. And so something that, my male superiors before may have just been like, here's a big check. And now she says, you know what? Still, here's a nice check. But, you're doing great. I believe in you. I'm proud of you. My gosh, those words really resonate for me.
100%. And for all folks out there, if you lead a team, telling people they did a good job and picking specific things that they've done like really recently. So let's say Kamo and I walked out of a meeting where he was presenting and I would go something like, hey, Kamo, I really loved slide 8 where you mentioned this data point or you told this story or like something specific and timely. It is the fastest and free way to build employee engagement. And
Absolutely.
like Gallup supports this as research. This is all real. And it's like, it does not cost you anything. It literally costs you a little bit of focus and like 1 minute of your time, and it goes a whole long way.
Absolutely, Rob. I couldn't agree more. Purpose is free.
Yeah,
Purpose is free. And leading teams, you can develop and help guide people to their purpose. Once they have it, game on.
I love it. Now, Camo, tell us your journey from MIT to today.
Absolutely. So I graduated with Rob, class of 2010, shout out 2010. And so when I graduated, I was course 3, which was material science and engineering. My father is a finance professor who is retiring this year after 35 years. My dad is so proud to have essentially maximized his Social Security, because if you have 35 years of being a good income earner, you get full Social Security plus half spousal support. So my dad, he immigrated this country, paid it all out in his Social Security, now receiving it all back. So he's very proud. So I kind of lived in more 2 hats, right? So half my time I would spend doing engineering internships and externships. The other half I would do Wall Street at Merrill Lynch to start. But really, I kind of leaned towards the finance aspect of things. And so when I graduated, I was blessed and lucky enough to have an offer, right? I had the offer that everyone should want. Serendipitously, I should just say, in parallel to my journey out of MIT, within MIT, I spent a lot of time dancing. If you knew me in college, you probably saw me at the fencing club or performing all over the place. I love dancing. So although I had this great opportunity to go work and live in New York and, make my way up trading to be a hedge fund and eventually have, kids in private school in Stamford, Connecticut, all that, I didn't really want that at that time. So what I did, was lean into the dance. And so by senior year, we had started this MIT crew called Redonkulous. It had maybe started in '06, but really our class brought it to a certain level. Senior year, we won Boston's best dance crew, which is insane, bro. This was in the era of step up, stomp the yard. We went to
Yeah.
clubs every Friday and threw down. This is middle of the club. It spreads out. Here we go. And in our finals, this was against Boston College, we did the classic MIT thing. They were going to come. We knew the set that they were going to use. We did our research and we decided we should do a showcase, a variety of brand new things, solos, popping, locking, breaking, whacking, voguing, all of it. And I'm telling you, Rob, I've had some great moments in life, but I still will never forget hundreds of people in a Boston nightclub. Most of them didn't even go to our school, screaming, MIT, MIT, MIT. And I was like, you know what? I got to keep feeding this. This feels so good. I came out to Los Angeles for the summer. I made a deal with my parents. Hey, mom, dad, before I go to Wall Street, I'm going to go hang out with Brian Gordico, class of 2008. And I was hanging out with Brian, taking 4 to 5 dance classes in a day. And then a light bulb moment happened for me. I was the worst guy in the room. And when you're the worst at something, lean into that. Okay. So I got better every day. I was learning more and more. And so, you know what? My heart, my soul, my passions were starting to change a little bit. I was fortunate enough to go to Brian's mom's birthday dinner, I believe, and I met a gentleman named Steve Bruce. And Steve, have you ever watched a movie, The Big Short? Yep. So there's that scene of where Steve Carell is in the bar with talking to that Japanese guy, and the wheels are turning, and he's talking about collateralized loan obligations. In that case, it was collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. Steve Bruce is a legendary pioneer of CLOs, collateralized loan obligation. Bunch of fancy words to just say that I knew who this guy was. He had just sold his last fund. He's starting a new hedge fund and said, Kamo, do you want to work for me? And I said, absolutely. That means I can stay here in LA, junior at a hedge fund, maybe get some equity. Holy cow. Like, perfect, right? I didn't realize that when he said start a hedge fund, he meant literally start a hedge fund. Like, I was there day one at an empty office. This 6 foot tall Swedish supermodel said hello to me and said she was the secretary. And I said, okay, I'm in the right spot, no doubt, but I'm not getting paid right now until we raised money. We had to go raise money. And so in between that, how do I make money? Well, I can tutor, right? That's kind of something that we all could do in our school, in our class. And so I started tutoring SATs, ACTs, all this college prep stuff. And when I was doing this, I would go to these mansions, right? I drove my Mazda 3 that I barely scrapped by with one of my best friends, class of 2010, Ayabuito. And we'd go to these homes, these $1 million homes, sit at their kitchen table, tutor these bright, young, wealthy little kids, and were getting paid about 20, $30 an hour. And I realized these tutoring companies were charging exponentially more. So there's some arbitrage there that could happen, and quickly I was arbing some stuff. And so I realized that I could make decent money at the time, work on this hedge fund and dance. And so that was a fantastic ride. Fund got funded. We did that for a few years. And it was at that point where I got to fortunately meet one of these people who I was tutoring, their child. And so I drove up to the hidden land of Hidden Hills in Calabasas. Now, if you're not familiar with Los Angeles, Calabasas is where the Kardashians are from. Hidden Hills is where Kanye West used to live, wherever the guy is now. But I call it the land of horses and Porsches, right? Everyone there's ranch style. You have a horse, you have a Porsche. And, I'm assuming this guy that I met, his name's Jim Miles, is a hedge fund guy or a private equity guy. That's all the two words I knew, right? Playing basketball, I say, hey, Jim, I don't mean to be rude, but what do you do for a living? Maybe you work for Ares Capital or something. And he said, well, I'm a financial advisor. And I said, what is that? Because growing up in Saginaw, Michigan, there was not a lot of finances to be advised on, fully, right? And so, he kind of explained everything I mentioned before about what I do, right? Very personal relationship building. You're not trading some corporate balance sheet that feels kind of cold and dark. You're really working and becoming that Tyrion Lannister, the hand of the king or queen to a family, being that first call. Love that. And, Jim, God rest his soul, he was my kind of second father figure. So I would be working for Jim. He said, listen, I want to create active mutual fund portfolio, which means I want to outperform the market because people are paying us, right, to outperform. Otherwise, they would just buy an ETF. And so I started working for Jim, and classically, as I'm sure we all have done, and as you all should do if you're not working or when you do work, first one in, last one out, FILO, right? So I live by that rule because people may think you're smart or know you're smart, but they can't see the effort, and effort is so important. First one in, I'm there at 5 a.m. Last one out, I'm there until 8 p.m., just depending on the day. Jim loved and respected that, and so there'd be Friday nights where we're there until 7, 8 o'clock. Jim actually, I'm just remembering this right now. He actually bought me my first suit. Like I always wore like my dad's old suits, and got by. But he said on a Friday night, he was like, "Hey, let's go to dinner." After dinner, he's like, "Hey, let's go stop by the mall." I said, "Okay, Jim." So I go with him, and yeah, he bought me my first suit. Jim Miles, my background was Drexel Burnham Lambert, which is Michael Milken, which is Leon Black, which all the offshoots are all these major hedge funds. Michael Milken is the junk bond king, and had the conference every year. So, I started working for Jim, and unfortunately, so sadly, he passed away tragically. He had, just a side story, like inflammation in the hypothalamus of his brain from a spore of mold during reconstruction at his home. 1 in a billion. He was a 1 in a billion man. So 1 in a billion kind of consideration happened. And so when he passed, I decided to maybe take a step away from the business for a little bit. I did a CPG company for a while. I actually ended up still dancing. I danced for Skrillex, which is pretty cool. I did a few shows.
Cool.
Yeah. I did a few shows with Skrillex. There's nothing more wild than being on stage. This is Hard Fest in Los Angeles. Big screens up, and there's just a countdown. You just hear my name is Skrillex. 3, 2, 1. Curtain drops. 200,000 people are out there just screaming, right? We are actually dressed as zombies or like skeletons, not moving, right? We were trying to pretend to be just props. So Sonny Skrillex, he is so talented. He actually doesn't just have a set list. He has a set of songs he plays and mixes and matches, and we just had to listen to our song. And once it came on, it took about like 45 minutes, right? We're not moving. We're screaming through our masks. We're so excited. And finally, we hear our drop, and all 12 of us jump up. I swear to God, there was a girl in the front row that looked, and she just threw up. She just threw up everywhere. She was so shocked and in awe by us. And we just started hitting it. Hey. And so that was a really interesting, special part of being able to do that. Shout out Donna Hood. one of my closest girlfriends out here that allowed me to do that. And so I would say my journey continued forward. There was a huge moment in my life, but something I'd like to, I like to not necessarily think about every day, but it has impacted me every day. So my right eye is not mine. I had a parasitic infection in my right eye, and losing it was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. Well, I went to vacation in Cabo, Mexico, swam in the ocean. I wear contacts, and I'm swimming in the ocean, take a nap. I wake up, and my eyes like really, really bothering me. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, shoot, I slept in my contacts. My bad. Go to the bathroom there. I peel open my eye. It's beet red, and the center is opaque like a dead fish. And I'm freaking out. It feels like someone's stabbing my eye with a knife. Bang, 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 rubbing sand in it, stepping on it. And so at that point, I'm losing my mind. I said, I gotta get back to LA, go find a doctor. I don't trust the doctors in Mexico, for whatever that is. And so I went to my optometrist as soon as I got back. I don't even remember flying home. I'm in so much pain. He looks at it and says, this is way beyond my pay grade. This is not optometry. This is ophthalmology. And I said, what, what is ophthalmology? So he, referred me to one doctor, to another, to Jewel Stein at UCLA, UCLA Tech Medical. And I went to probably 6 different doctors. No one could figure it out. They said, oh, this must be bacterial, might be super bacterial, which I didn't realize was a super version of bacteria. It could be viral. And so they kept giving me all these different eye drops, and I would use them. But again, Rob, during this entire time, I'm in so much pain, light sensitivity. If you ever had any eye issues, I feel you. And so eventually, after a few weeks, it would kind of stop. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of better. Then all of a sudden I go down again, right? And so this pattern of being good and being not good, I went to Dr. Neda Shami, who was at UCA Tech Medical at the time, now runs her own practice. And she said, you know what? I think I read about something like this in college before. Let me check it out. I think it's called acanthamoeba. And then she left the room. Me being me, of course, I just go on my phone. What is acanthamoeba? It is a parasite, tens of thousands of single cell amoebas that if they get into your bloodstream, they will swim into your brain, eat you, and you die. I'm 26 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. This is it for me. That's it. What a great life. I think I passed out and she found me on the floor when she came back in. She's like, oh my God, you're good. I'm like, I said words that it felt like I was in a movie, like a cinematic movie. Because I literally looked at her and said, doctor, am I going to die? And she goes, no, we will figure it out. We will save your eye first and get rid of these parasites. So we went through then, once you understand what the problem is, then you can actually solve it. So here's the solution. What do you do to parasites? Well, you got to kill them. How do you kill them when they're lodged into your eye? Well, you take diluted hydrochloric acid, HCl, and you squeeze that into your eye every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day. So that's 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. That's 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 4:30, every 30 minutes for 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, I squeezed acid into my eye. To combat the pain, of course, I am now on 15 Oxycontins a day just to get through. I've had to take time off work. I was basically a zombie. I have amazing friends in my life. Shout out Jenna Sims, who was there for me the entire way, driving me to doctor's appointments, prying my eye open, keeping me sane from not wanting to, end it all because I'm like, God, this is so painful. I've never been through anything like this. And even with all that, I am now a one-eyed pirate. Right. So just from a cosmetic level, which sounds surface, but it does impact the way you feel, the way you look. We got all of them out after that napalm strike on my eye. And with that, though, came just now my eye basically opaque. Right. So I would wear a eye patch when I'd go out. And of course, if you see a guy with an eye patch and you're at a party in Los Angeles, by the way, you asking what happened. So I would have to explain
bar
bar fight, I'm Captain Hook, something fun, I make things up, but you live your PTSD and your trauma every second you go out. So I stopped going out, really kind of buried myself there for a little bit. But again, having, amazing friends and kind of looking at life, listen, I'm not going to die, right? That's the silver lining. I'm not dead. I'm still alive. I still got another good eye. We're good. I got 2 legs, 2 arms, right? Life could be worse. My roommate at the time, Jens Jacob, he had just finished a documentary about a man that was born, with no legs and no arms. Nick Vucicic, I believe his name is. He's Australian. And this guy was born with no arms and no legs. And I'm like, well, I have those. And so, who am I to just, whatever, it's an eye. I got other. I'll be okay and I'll fight through it. And after about 5 years, they were confirmed that there's no more parasites in there. We did a corneal transplant where a donor so graciously donated an eye. So that's when you're an organ donor, right? You get into a car accident, they find a fresh eye, they cut that one out, the cornea of it, which is the lens of your eye, cut my cornea out, replace them, stitch them all up. And so now I am looking at you, my brother, with 99% Kamo Jurn, 1% this beautiful donor. So that happened. After that happened, I was like, okay, I can go back to work. I ended up joining Wells Fargo Private Bank, and a fantastic advisor there named Brian Furing. The two of I were kind of, call it, Kobe, Shaq, I would say, right? And so the idea was that Brian grew up in LA. He is the classic, amazing financial advisor with beautiful relationships, and he needed someone to run his book. So not be an analyst, run my book, be the chief investment officer for me. We ended up being lucky in having 4 billionaires on our book, which basically became my job. 2 of them started a social media company, which they still run, publicly traded. I would do their fund trading, which is an SEC law. So that way there's no insider trading. You pre-plan these things. And the other 2 bought a soccer team a few years back, which we were part of that.
It's
and so,
Rob McElhaney and Ryan Reynolds.
Exactly. So we did that. I thought that was really cool. But I got a phone call one day from one of our classmates, and, they say, hey, do you know what a intentionally defective grantor trust is? I said, I do, but why do you? That's kind of really, a unique estate planning consideration. And another light bulb moment, everyone that we went to school with is at a place in their life now where they need high level financial services. They need my services. I could actually probably create my own book of clients at this point. And so I spent 6 months between Wells Fargo and now Raymond James. I did the Eat, Pray, Love thing. I went to Bali. I recharged my battery, and I came to Raymond James because we have the #1 middle market investment bank in the country. Middle market meaning we like to write check sizes between 150 million to 3 billion. And a lot of that 0 to 150 before you get to that level is venture capital, which a lot of our friends are in. So I came really for that. I came for Lisa Tana and to work on this top team, and it's been fantastic. Full circle moment. Lisa, going back to my original story about Jim, they knew each other. They worked at Drexel Burnham Lambert together. So she revealed that to me the other day, and here I am.
When you were at MIT, did you feel like you were the only one who didn't belong? Do you compare yourself with successful classmates? Do you feel like you're constantly needing to do more to feel like you're enough? Many of us feel that. I felt it too, but you don't have to feel that way anymore. You can get better results, achieve more, and feel more fulfilled doing it. I can say that because I've done it, and I coach my clients to do it too. I use scientifically proven methods, including internal family systems, values-based leadership, and habit-building techniques to transform your psychology and your life. These trusted strategies will get you results quickly, in some cases, even in our first session, and they'll last you for years. Now, my coach isn't just about learning. It's about taking action and creating results. Results that'll boost your confidence, unlock doors to opportunities you never thought possible, and equip you with strategies that only a select few ever master. But here's the thing, the longer you wait, the more opportunities slip by. Imagine what your life could look like just weeks from now. Having taken the first step, take action now. Go to robkalwarowsky.com and book a complimentary call with me. Amazing. Now, I gotta ask, right, is often we find wisdom through suffering. And I think that's a Buddhist saying. When you were going through it with your eye, what were something that you came out on the other side learning?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, in the moment, right? My mom is Catholic. I'm Catholic. I was baptized, but my father's Buddhist. So you have that moment where God will listen to you the most at casinos and at hospital beds. You pray to God in both those situations. Please help me. And so I internalized it, right? Koreans, we have something called Han, where we believe that we are the carriers of all our ancestors and our suffering. I felt like this was even an opportunity to either pressure makes diamonds or this is over, right? So the wisdom that came out of it is if I can deal with that level of physical torment combined with the mental torment I dealt with going to MIT with you, I got this in the bag. Life is going to be real easy after this. So just get through this period. Everything is temporary and you will be okay on the other side.
It's so you can learn so much about folks through those tough moments, and there's always incredible insight that's there. Never you don't often find it in that moment of suffering, but often you'll find it later. And yeah, for anyone listening, totally, if you've been through some stuff, there's looking back at it can give you some new perspectives.
Also, if you need a good eye doctor, I got the best in the country. So let me know.
That's right. So Kamo, I did want to ask you, like, of course, your career has been long. You've learned from some really incredible people. Now, can you share us some of those, maybe a couple nuggets on what would have you learned, and like how can MIT folks or the folks that are listening to you take some of those learnings with them?
Totally. So I would say there are a few things that I think that I've learned throughout my experience post MIT. We've only scratched the surface, honestly.
Of
But
course.
number one, you don't know what you don't know. That was something that was taught to me a very long time ago. You don't know what you don't know. Um, Number two, and this is something that I hold very dear to me, especially now, you want to make money with the people you want to spend it with. So if you make money with the people you want to spend it with, that then will drive you to make more because you want to spend more with the people you care about. Then it's also kind of my, I don't know how many children are listening, but that's my no client kind of clause as well. That goes hand in hand. And then something that we've talked about before, Rob, in the past is ikigai, right? Get paid for what you love to do. Find your purpose. Now, I truly believe for all my gamers out there that life, and I'm going to use a quote. This is not my quote by any means. This comes from Thomas Vu, who was the head of creative for League of Legends, if you know that game. And Thomas and I have beautiful conversations about this. Life is a single player game, right? So as you experience and walk through life, think about playing Final Fantasy, think about World of Warcraft. You are experiencing things uniquely yourself. In that journey of life, there is a main quest, right? And you get the new objective, new objective, new objective. And as you go and consider and press forward your main quest, new rooms open, new people open, new doors open, levels get unlocked, achievement badge here and there. But with that, there's also a lot of side quests in life, right? And these side quests can often be very distracting. You could play these side quests your entire life and end up in the same room, and all you're doing is you're playing Final Fantasy IX and you're just playing the card game, right? Now, there's also great side quests that are almost needed to experience your full journey life, like, Final Fantasy VII, getting the Golden Chocobo, or Zelda, getting the Bigoron sword, right? Those are certain things that you have to do that make it life more experiential, but most of things are distractions from your true purpose and your true quest. So the one part too about it is, well, are you in life? Are you in a side quest right now? Are you stuck in the same level? Have you not figured out how to get out of the room and get into the next? Ask for help. Ask for help. If you ask for help, it will show up to you and you will get it. So I would say that if your life is a single player game and you're trying to experience and maximize the most, watch out for the pitfalls. Life is also very patterned, right? So you may be experiencing a certain thing in life and all of a sudden here comes that same distraction. Here comes that same Goomba. You got to jump over it this time, right? Here comes that siren song and avoid the cliffs, right? So if you recognize those patterns in life, you can solve them. You can figure them out. You can avoid them, get through them. Life can also, and it kind of, if we consider this to be a not full simulation, I mean, maybe I think that is, but let's just say that we experience life in a video game kind of aspect. Once you have a tool or you discover a tool, learn about how to use that tool, you can now bring it into the game, right? So learn a lot of things, fill up your fridge of great foods, and I say foods, I say mental foods, physical foods too. But once your fridge is full, make a beautiful dish out of it, right? And share that with the rest of the world. Feed other people. So good comes in, the good comes out. You stay in that loop and you'll continue to be very successful.
I love it. That's such an incredible way of putting it. Like I
Again,
always
this
coach
is
it.
Thomas Vu. This
Yeah.
is not me. I'm just the student that now is expressing and teaching what I've learned from my seafood.
It's absolutely like I always coach it as the hero's journey, right? And
Mm,
it's exactly the same concept. It's been in movies for almost forever. And it's literally what you said, right? Is like when you there's a time where you're going to get a feeling. And that feeling is there's something more that I need to do.
mhm.
Or and that you'll experience that, and it can be anything. It can be when you're stuck in traffic, it comes into your mind, or you see a sign on the subway and you're like, whoa. Like for me it was in 2017 I went to visit Mark Arts, who's a 2010. He was taking his PhD in at University of Tennessee, and we were sitting in his house, and this was after I struggled a lot with depression, and I was still kind of in it, but not super. I was dissociated, basically.
Yeah.
And he was telling me like all the stuff he was listening to. He was reading Warren Buffett's book, and he was looking at this, and it hit me in a moment. Was like, I love learning, and I need to do more of that because I had stopped doing it because I was trying to protect myself
Mm,
from feeling worse.
mm,
And
mm.
then that was when I started. I literally, when I got home, I was like, I Googled top 10 entrepreneurship podcasts and I downloaded them all. And then I just started doing that. And then it was like 28, I started a podcast, and then it just grew all the way to today. But it's those moments, then the mentor shows up. And that's what you're talking about with asking for help
Yeah.
is, and you can ask me, I do this for work. You can talk to Kamo. He obviously has incredible experiences and as well as networking, right? And he can help you. Your manager, if you have a good manager or someone you admire, lots of folks are out there, right? And that's when you go down the path of learning, and then at some point you have to face the dragon
Mhm,
and you have to go into
mhm.
the cave. And this is, we always talk about it as the cave is inside the cave is the pearl of individuation.
Ooh, I
And
love
this
that.
is, I always talk about this in a way. It's, for me, it's, you have to let something go in your current state of you, and it feels painful, and it you can call it some version of death and rebirth. You can call it some version of letting some piece of your ego go, or that growth, but it hurts. But on the other side of letting that go is the next level of you. And then it's exactly what Camo said, is you take that pearl of individuation and you bring it back to the village and share it.
That's so beautiful, Rob. I mean, like you're so right because we see it in film and cinema every single time. That's Luke Skywalker, right? Going facing his darkness, coming out better the other side. I think for me, a lot of that individualism is also people, right? Making sure that you may have to cut some friendships out of your life that you think are friendships that may be, but they were there for that chapter of your life. It's really hard to think, how can I live my life without this person, whether that's in a marriage, whether that's in a best friendship. But in this narrative, they will show back up if they are meant to be with you and be in that moment. So there are characters that stay with you your entire life, that stay in your party. There's ones that come in for bits and chapters, but I think understanding that too is really, really important. Take stock of your not just personal life, but all the people around you.
I have a tool for that. If folks want it, you just email me. I'll send you a
I
spreadsheet
need
for
that,
that.
bro. Give that to me.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is real. And I see this. I've had to go through it. Even leaving my last company is part of this, right? It's like I had outgrown that space. And it wasn't that it was bad. It took me up, and then now it's time for the next level. And I see this with almost all my clients. It could be a personal dating relationship, it can be a work relationship or a job, right? It can show up in very different ways, but that's the time where your community changes, and you got to surround yourself with people who are supporting you at that next level. And sometimes it'll be new folks. Sometimes it'll be people who are in your camp 100%, whether that's your mom, whether that's Camo, right? Like it doesn't, that's that next level. But those folks that support you and the new folks you'll meet, it's that same Jim Rohn quote. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the
That's
most
right.
time around.
Birds of a feather. I mean, there's some levels in your life that you're going to need more an aggressive characters in your life to get through it. Sometimes there's going to be times in your life where you need healers, right? So, dark spells versus light spells. Sometimes you're going to need a warrior. Sometimes you're going to need a communicator. And so just know the level that you're at under having awareness, self-awareness, life awareness, and then know what the party that you need around you to get through it.
I love it. Camo, I mean, I have to ask you, you mentioned your true purpose. So,
Mhm.
what is your true purpose?
Rob, I'm in it. I'm in it right now. My true purpose has always been to serve others. I didn't know how to express that, right? I am not a doctor. I get squeamish with blood,
That's why we went to
so,
engineering school.
yeah, exactly. And then when I'm in engineering school, I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm going to do something, invent something. I'm not that. I realized that very quickly too. I'm like, I'm not that guy that has a genius idea that we just got to run with it. I'm not the guy that, as a going to my artistry, I'm not a choreographer, really. I'm not. It's not something that's unique and easy for me, but I can take choreography and add layers and flavor and texture to it. So I think my consideration for what I do and my ikigai right now and my purpose right now is to help you solve your problems, right? Lay them out for me. I can give you that voice and understanding of how can best optimize and to continue to spread this energy and consideration of, listen, there's a lot of difficulties in life right now. We just went through a very traumatic world change, good or bad, depending on how you feel about it. So bringing people together, I think, has always been a strength of mine. Growing up as the only Asian, one of maybe two or three in my entire hometown of Saginaw, Michigan. Shout out Sag Nasty. My mom taught me, she's like, Kamo, you have to be a chameleon in order to fit in. You are I'm a fat kid. So I'm a fat Asian kid that clearly is not going to survive high school very well. But with that, I was able to utilize my strengths, by being really good at doing people's homework, and having some, having some good people around me, to get me through everything. But community, bringing people together is my purpose, amongst helping the individual. But that is why I feel so purposeful about leading, this MIT class of 2010 reunion, which I hope then spreads bigger. This is not just we're going to have a toast. We're going to make this a week long consideration. So if you're listening and you're class of 2010, please call me. I want us to all come back as students, which you just mentioned before, Rob, to keep learning it. Once you are wearing the brand, we're all students. We want to learn more so that way we can teach more, right? So we're all going to come back. We're going to teach what we've learned through life. That's not just business. That's not just academia. That's what have you been through? And maybe I've been through that too. And maybe we can find unity there where 1 + 1 = 3. Maybe we haven't felt seen in a very long time. And maybe life has just moved so fast that we haven't been able to take a breath. And so that is my hope. We create this beautiful community that could spark something much larger. I know it will. And it starts, I've been talking to a lot of people from different colleges that have very strong alumni networks. And sadly, we do not. And so my hope is that we will going forward. We have so many brilliant people within our class, and we can do a lot of good in this world. It is our responsibility and our duty to be truthful with you that I feel very strong about. We were some of the most talented people in the world that got to go to the university. We were like a nuclear bomb, all these beautiful sparks that compressed together like an atom bomb and we exploded back out in the world. But we need to start really shaping, framing what that could look like and to benefit and to give back as much as we possibly can.
I love it. Now, Camo, of course, this show is also about that community and supporting each other. So, for folks out there, how can the community support you?
Yeah, I love that because I always, as a giver, as a lot of people are, you stop thinking about yourself a little bit. But the reality is, I'm the opposite of an introvert, as you can probably tell. I'm pretty extroverted. My battery does get filled talking to you, Rob, and talking to people. So to support me, just call me. Let's talk. I get so much value out of that. And that helps charge my battery, is to learn new things about new people that, again, we weren't that close in college, but, we've become very close now. So give me a call, reach out, LinkedIn, Instagram, my phone number. I probably shouldn't say it out here. Get it through Rob.
We'll drop your email in the podcast notes so
Perfect.
folks can find
Yeah,
you.
there we go. There we go. There we go. Perfect. So reach out. I swear I don't bite. And that will actually bring me a lot of value, because what I am, to be honest, is a pattern matcher. And I'll quote my little bro in my fraternity, Stephen Goodman. He's like, Kamo, you're a very talented pattern matcher. You can learn something about someone, know something about someone else. And just like you, Rob, you put those two people together and bang, there it is. That's it for me. That's how I do business. I don't sell anything. I'm just a teacher, as my father is a professor. So I am the son of a professor.
Amazing. And the last question, we got to ask you this one. How would you like to impact the world?
I think that starts with this reunion. I think this is the beginning of how we impact the world. Many of us are connected to some of the top leaders of this world, or are one step away. And so my impact to this world is, I don't have an agenda. I'm going to bring everyone together. In that, we will find a way to shape something, whether, hey, are we going to solve health problems? Are we going to solve mental problems, social problems? What are those issues? We know that there's a lot of them in this world, but let's start with us. And then let's expand that to others and continue to shape that, and all be in that same ethos of understanding, caring for people, being kind, right? And solving problems and not creating them. So my impact to this world starts there. I think everything has led up my entire life to this moment, to spearhead, to be that first spark that will be an inferno of good in this world. So I hope that is exactly how it comes off. I hope you feel that energy from me, that authentic, kind energy that wants to give everyone the opportunity that I've been blessed to have, and I'll be your sounding board. I'll gather everyone together. I frankly do. I'll take one bit of pride. My battery's crazy, bro. I can, I don't need a lot of sleep. I have one night a week I sleep. Otherwise I get charged by people, right? So keep my battery going. Let's meet some new people. Let's keep the talks going.
I love it. Folks out there, of course. So Kamo, I've dropped his Instagram and his LinkedIn in the podcast notes, and you can check his email there as well. So if you want to reach out to them or to him, you can find him there. Is there anywhere else you want folks to find you?
You can find me here in Beverly Hills. If you look straight across, there's the Hollywood sign. I travel a lot for work, actually, so I cover not just Los Angeles, but also our Las Vegas office. We're looking to open up one in Miami next year. I cover Hawaii once a quarter. I'm in New York all the time to see my three little angel of nieces. I'm from Michigan. So I'm all around the world, but you can catch me at the right time, and I'm always happy to get on a plane to come see you. I don't have anything else tying me down besides just this mission.
Amazing. Such an amazing story. And he's a catalyst, folks. Like, when we met, you fired me up, and and we're rolling full steam. And this reunion that's coming up in end of May is going to be a catalyst that we don't know what it is yet. But there's definitely going to be huge impacts that's going to come out of that, and it's going to be global, because a lot of, of course, I'm speaking from Costa Rica, but a lot of us, we touch that global. We're outside of just, Silicon Valley or Boston, right? And so we're going to make this a global impact. So let's make it happen. Let's go.
Make it happen.
Kamo,
Let's go.
It's been so amazing to have you on the show.
It's been my honor. It's been my pleasure, Rob. Thank you for doing this, because this is something I couldn't do. So, lean into the people that are good and much better than you, and we can make great things happen.
Absolutely, folks. Thank you so much. Of course, if you want to talk about your hero's journey and get on your Ikigai path, you can reach out to me, robkalwarowsky.com. That's the best place to find me, or you can send me an email, rob@robkalwarowsky.com. I know you can't spell my last name, but it's in the podcast notes. And my LinkedIn's there as well, so you can find me there as well. Yeah, absolute pleasure to chat, of course.
Thank you, brother.
If you're out there and you're listening and you're part of the MIT community, you want to come on this show, reach out to me, either LinkedIn or my email or my website, of course, and let's get you on, and it'll be awesome to share your story and your wisdom with everyone out there. So, Kamo, Perfect. You're the brilliant mind who came up with the show. Anywhere you want to leave folks with today?
Um, no, I mean, honestly, I think this is great. I feel so energized and pumped. If I wasn't doing this, I think my real job would be like a hype man for a rap group and just shout out, the every other word like the Yang Twins. But all that to be said, I'm so excited for everything that's happening. Hit me up, hit Rob up. Let's make 1 + 1 = 3. Let's go.
Let's make it happen, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
See you, brother.